So it's been a little while since I uploaded a video, but as you can tell from my uneven tan and douchebag seashell bracelet, I've been on holiday. However, two things happened since I've been away. Firstly, my glasses broke. So the View shipping date really needs to move up now. And secondly, we received update number 27. So without further ado, let's jump into it. So firstly, you remember from the last video, they were having some issues with the supplier of the PCBs because they had changed their supplier for the materials without telling View, and that led to a reduction in yield rate when they were testing the PCBs. Basically, they used lower quality material to make a saving, didn't tell View, and the ones they were producing were crap. So we discussed last time that was the reason for the most recent delay, because they were having to source new suppliers for PCBs. So what I've said this month is they've found a new supplier, they've received some samples, and they were just checking those samples to make sure there weren't any dents, damages, or obvious electrical shortages. So in the picture here, the black and blue ones are from the new supplier and the green ones are from the old supplier. So they've done their inspection and the new ones are perfectly fine, all of them are working great. And just my observation, it looks like they fit more on the black and blue ones compared to the old supplier anyway. So it's got to be either cheaper for View or just more economical really. For some reason it then goes on to say because of the new electronics they received, they set up a mini assembly line in the office because it was a good opportunity to train the non-technical people on how to put the glasses together, which they turned into a weird competition. Basically see how badly you can pick up a pair of glasses. However, they have said the assembly process was a success, the new electronics appear to be working great, and now everyone on the team has up-to-date units comprised of pre-production frames and electronics. So everyone has their own pair of glasses which they built and they work. So because the electronics work, they now said they're going to go into pre-production for the electronics, which basically involves ramping up batches of production. So start with a batch of 500, go up to 2,000, 5,000 and so on, and the reason they do it in batches is because it allows them to identify errors on the fly without those errors occurring in thousands and thousands of units. Next, an update on the frame molds, again something we discussed in the last update to say they received the T2. There were still some blemish errors which they were trying to resolve by adjusting the settings on the mold machine. They've now said they've got as far as they can do with that, and the remaining issues can't be fixed through adjustments on the machine. It has to go through a tumbling and painting process to cover it up. So there's a picture here that shows a T2 unit as it's come out of the moulding machine against one which is being tumbled and painted. They've said it's hard to capture all of the details of this in the picture and it's easier to see in real life. But again, now that they've resolved this, they can go into pre-production for the molds as well, similar to the way they will with the electronics. One thing they haven't stated is whether this tumbling and painting process was something that they were going to do all along, or this is something they've had to add in because of the blemishes in the T2 molds. Again, if it's something they've had to add in at the last minute, whether or not it have an effect on the delivery date, who knows? Probably will. Unfortunately for the remainder of the update, it's not really things we care about. Boring! As people in the comments of the Kickstarter campaign have always said, it's always nice to see these technical details and the pictures and the updates of these things. It just seems for the last few updates, they've been on very minor parts of the projects and they seem to be skipping over the important things. So we'll cover the rest of the update and then discuss the things that we would like to see in future updates. So next I go into the charging case, and I think they've said this in an update before. They're pretty much ready to go for production on this, but because of the extra time they've got from the electronics delay, they're spending a little bit more time just perfecting the glasses case. There's a picture of the CAD design here. Not sure what that's supposed to tell us, but you know, cool. Next picture appears to be of the tools that they use to make the glasses case. Again, couldn't really tell you what we're looking at here. Seems to be something with an on-off switch, a block of metal, and somebody's finger. And lastly, a sample of a finished glasses case. They've just said this is one of the colour options that they've been playing around with. Seem to remember in updates before there was like a weird black and orange combination, so this is just one of the ones which they're going to try, and they've said details of other colours will be available in future updates. Next one applies to anyone who's chosen any colours or graphics on the side of the glasses arms. It's a process called IML, which is in-mould labelling. Basically a process that they go through to apply either texture or colour to the mould while it's inside the moulding machine instead of doing it post-production. So the picture here is just of the first samples they've received. They've just said they're not entirely happy with the colours which have come out. They should be a little bit more vibrant. You can see the third one down from the top is supposed to be like a wood colour, whereas that just looks black to me. So they've said it wasn't exactly expected to get it right first time, so they've seen these samples now, given their feedback to the moulding factory, and they'll be receiving new samples shortly. Next, something that didn't really seem like it needed an entire section in the update is labelling. So this certain legal and regulatory requirements for them to label the class this case because it's an electronic equipment, mainly FCC and CE labels. And it just goes on to say that they're working with the factory to figure out where the label's going to go and what it's going to look like. If anyone finds that particularly interesting, remember to drop a like. Lastly, hold on to your hats. We've talked about packaging in the past, which was the exterior box, but now we're getting into the plastic tray that's going to go inside the box. That's literally it. Again, there's an entire paragraph for the plastic tray that's going to go inside the box, which if you ever want to read all of this in full, links to the updates are always in the description down below. But there's not really a lot I can sit here and say about a plastic tray. So next I'm going to talk about lenses, which I feel like is a section which should be more detailed, and we just got one paragraph. So they've said, we've received pre-production lens samples and they fit the frames well. We're having additional lenses made which will be tested with polished frames, since the tumbling and painting process can have minuscule effects on dimensions that change how easy it is for the lenses to be inserted. Once we've confirmed the fit of the samples, we'll give our supplier the go-ahead for production. That's literally what they've said about the lenses, whereas I feel like it's quite an important aspect for people who have ordered an array of lenses which they offered, which includes tinted in brown, purple or black, polarized in grey/black, brown or green, which also come in prescription, photochromic transition adaptive lenses, and polarized progressive prescription. And then lastly they go on to talk about timelines, which as always I'll read because I don't like to skew it or give misleading information, though a few things have shifted. T2 samples arrived early, charging case reviews went longer, etc. It still appears to fit within our recent timelines. Note that most of the sections in the chart aren't hard dates. In general, we assume the start of each of those sections of work may be off, as in can occur earlier or later by a few days. Next up, pre-production reviews, optimization, and officially kicking off mass production. Should be exciting work ahead. Now I grabbed a picture of their plan, which they posted last month. According to their plan, which they've said these aren't hard dates, they can occur earlier or slightly later. Supposedly mass production should start around about the 28th of May, with shipping starting on the 11th of June. Now to date they haven't given any information on their shipping schedule, how it's going to work. Obviously as a Kickstarter campaign they went through the early bird process, so the people who bought into that should be receiving them first. But obviously all of this is subject to delays, which we've seen time and time again. Now, as I said, a lot of the details we received in this update really don't seem that important. I'm not too sure how many people care about the labelling.
Oh. Anybody? Anybody else?
So here are just a couple of things that I'd like to see in future updates. Firstly, the app, I think is going to be quite a large aspect of this. It could be one of the reasons that people have bought into the project. You know, it controls a lot of features and functions of the glasses. Yet to date, the last update we saw was back in February, and it was a picture of the Bluetooth pairing screen. They haven't really given any real updates as to where they are with the iOS app, whether they're delayed with the Android app, because that's usually the order people produce the apps in. We'd like to know. Next is the gesture control. So we've seen lots of updates on the electronics and they've said they're all working. Part of the electronics working, I would assume, would mean that the gesture control is working. Yet we haven't seen a single video to show the gesture control working, which would be the sliding to change songs, the pressing to answer calls, the holding, the customizable gesture control function. Any of it would be good to see at this point. Something we keep talking about is the leakage. So thus far we haven't actually heard music playing through the glasses. In previous videos we've compared this project to those of Zungle and Batband, both which are still in production but not doing so great because of the amount of audio that the devices leak. So far we've had a short video in March to show them testing the volume of the sort of onboard assistant. Other than that, still no footage or tests of how much audio is going to leak out, and I know that's the #1 thing that people are concerned about with this project. And the last thing just seems to be a general recurring comment that you see on the Kickstarter page, which is people saying my prescription has changed and I need to update it. Now, we said in a video before, View actually put a hard stop on the prescription changes on the 13th of April. However, since the project has already been delayed almost a year at this point, it doesn't really seem fair to put a hard stop which affects the customers when the delays have been caused by View. So those are just a few of the things that I'd like to see in future updates. If there's anything that I've missed or you have any thoughts on those, remember to drop it in the comments down below. If you find these update videos particularly useful or somewhat entertaining, remember to give it a like. Hopefully we can get an update on the shipping time soon, because I'm not too sure how long this super glue is going to last. But as always, thanks for watching and I shall see you in the next one.